women, young girls, start their period, could be as young as 11, and then have to deal with, fluctuating hormone levels and everything that comes with having a period, a menstrual cycle, pregnancy, perimenopause, menopause, until we're, 40s, 50s. That's a big section of our lives that isn't really being taken seriously. So I'm sure that plays into a large part of it. Also, I'm imagining doctors being time poor, that you get these like 5-minute segments with people.
I don't think it doesn't take long to be kind to people. I've been a GP for many years, 10-minute consultations. And actually on a Monday morning, we used to do 5-minute. I can't believe we did it, just to try and get through some of the emergencies for the day. But you can really learn a lot in a short space of time if you listen, but also if you educate people. So as you hopefully know, I've worked really hard the last 10 years to try and educate women so they can make choices themselves. So what I feel almost guilty for now is that women are educated, like you say. So they might have, downloaded Balance, got the symptom questionnaire, printed it off and say to their doctor, because it's always one problem, one consultation, I think it's my hormones because I've got this symptom. Yeah. They're really empowered. So as a doctor who's educated, it's really easy because you go, right, I'm thinking hormones now. I'm not thinking palpitations, heart problem, or joint problem, joint pains, rheumatological problem. It's easy. The patient's giving you the diagnosis, really. But then it's still people aren't joining the dots, and that's what's really difficult. So it doesn't take long. If you came to me saying, oh, I'm a bit tired and I'm crying a lot and I've got joint pain, that's going to take me 10 minutes to listen to your symptoms. But if you've prepared, you've got everything on a tick box and you're saying, Dr. Newson, these are my symptoms. I would now like to talk to you about whether I can take hormones. I've got 9.5 minutes to talk to you about hormones. It's quite a long time.
So it's really for the patient taking back control to say, I've got a feeling as to what's up, rather than, oh my God, I don't know what's going on with me, but I'm really struggling. I think the ripple effects of women not being informed previously, but also, as you say, the medical world not catching up with this conversation, is many women, like me, have got their head buried in the sand. So in many ways, I'm the perfect person to interview today. Not only about your new book, which I fucking raced through because I was just like, I need this book right now. The Power of Hormones. We'll put all the details in the podcast copy. But I am that typical mid-40s woman who is totally and utterly in denial. My head's buried in the sand. I don't know. I think because I have found the conversation around perimenopause and menopause overwhelming at times, and you're fed so many different pieces of advice. And also people like to regurgitate their own narrative to
which
you.
Is worse.
Which then, you could start thinking, oh, maybe I should go and talk to someone about this, or should I start hormones? Then someone else says, definitely don't because of this, or the fear mongering comes in. So I am that person right now who is still slightly head in the sand. And I know I've got certain symptoms. My periods are certainly getting closer together. So the cycle is shorter. The periods can be shorter, but I can get a bad headache on day one and a heavy period on day one. And then it's kind of very light after that. So I know that there's changes. I know there's stuff going on, but I'm doing nothing about it. And I reckon there's a large portion of my listeners of my age who feel exactly the same.
They're confused. I hate my Instagram. I mean, I love it and I hate it. So whenever I go on it, there's all this stuff like, oh my God, what do I believe? Who do I trust? It's just awful. But can I ask you a question? If you had like low iron, would you take an iron tablet?
Yeah.
And if you had an underactive thyroid gland making you really tired, would you take thyroxine?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's interesting, isn't it? Because that's why in the book I've written that I hate the word menopause, perimenopause, PMS, PMDD. They're just labels for women. But if I said to you, I've done a blood test, Fearne, and you've got low, I mean, I haven't, by the way, just for your listeners, but, but you've got low testosterone and that's why you're feeling more tired, you're having headaches, whatever. Would you like to try testosterone just for a short time, see if it's going to help your symptoms?
Yes.
It makes the conversation then really easy.
Exactly. I guess what we need to do first is debunk some of the myths, perhaps, all the fears that women have. So you say in your book, only 15% of women in England, or the UK, are currently getting hormone therapy, the lowest in years and years.
Isn't it?
More likely because of these fears. One of the big ones being a story that we've seen in the news, circulating, it goes, it comes back around the link between taking hormones and breast cancer.
Yeah.
This is a big subject to dive into straight off the bat, but I think it's the one that we need to tackle.
It's really important. So I think before I answer that, we need to just remember what hormones are, because so many people think hormones are something we prescribe. They're not something that we produce ourselves.
Yes.
So we produce dozens of hormones. They're just chemical messengers that go into our bloodstream, made in different organs in our body. They all have defined actions, but they're really important for our cells, our organs to work properly. So the hormones we're talking about are only progesterone, estrogen, but I really talk about estradiol because that's the best form of estrogen, and testosterone, to keep it really simple. But when I prescribe hormones or HRT, there's loads of different types. So there's the ones that I prescribe day in, day out, which are the same structure as estradiol, progesterone, testosterone, because they've all got their own chemical structure. So they are the body identical natural hormones. You're replacing like with like. But when HRT was first made, and that's where you've got that whole history of HRT in the book, it was made synthetically, because one of the problems, which isn't really a problem, but when they made it more naturally, you could buy it over the counter. But the pharmaceutical companies wanted to clearly make money. They worked with gynecologists and scientists, and they made a synthetic version. So they changed the chemical structure. Now, even if you don't know much about chemistry, most people know that water is H2O, 2 hydrogens with 1 oxygen atom. If you add 1 more oxygen and make H2O2, it's hydrogen peroxide, it's bleach. So just to highlight to you, a small change in a chemical structure can make a huge difference to properties. So they changed the chemical structure, so it's like estrogen, like progesterone, and even they've made lots of synthetic testosterones. It's like testosterone, but it's not. It doesn't work the same in the body. So you know quite simply that putting something that's a chemical in your body is not going to have the same biological effects.
No.
It's not going to bind to that receptor and unlock those lovely, beautiful cascades. You know, even Lizelle talking about mitochondrial function. Like, I love mitochondria. They're the powerhouse of all our cells. But we've got receptors for estrogen, progesterone, testosterone on our mitochondria, not for synthetic estrogen, not for synthetic progestrogens, not for synthetic testosterone. So once you know that, that's really important, because all the risks with HRT, including that big, terrible study that came out in 2002, was using synthetic hormones. So you can almost discard it, other than the hormones they used are still similar to hormones in contraception. So it brings a whole new complexity. And that's what I do tease out in my book as well. The whole history of contraception, because they're not hormones, they're synthetic chemicals.
And I took that without even thinking back in the day. I was like, I'll take whatever pill you've got, give it to me. I did no research. So it's weird that there's so much more focus on this side of it.
This is what I find. I wish I'd written this book 10 years ago, really. Because 20 years ago, I was the same as you. I took the pill. I didn't actually know. No one taught me at medical school that it wasn't a hormone. It was only because I'm very scientific, evidence-based. I've had a lot of blue sky thinking as a doctor, because I've worked as a medical writer for so long and an educator, that I sort of sat down and just thought, what is the difference? They're all called different. They can't be the same. And then once you understand them and you understand how they work differently in the body, it's suddenly this big wake-up call and think, hang on, they're not hormones. We need to be really clear with our language. And women are being misguided, but so are doctors, because the doctors that are scared of HRT are merely prescribing synthetic contraception for 12-year-olds with acne. And I'm like, hang on, we don't know. We know that all synthetic hormones have a small risk of clots and heart attacks and stroke and cancers. We know that they probably get into the DNA, so whatever goes on might be transmitted to other generations. And we've known that with some other types of synthetic hormones. But no one's really looking at that. They're still trying to stop women from having natural hormones, which improve symptoms, but also improve our future health.